Hey, welcome back! Or if it's your first time here, I'm really glad you're watching. Because this video, this conversation, could change the way you look at relationships, at life, and at yourself, especially if you've ever gone through or are going through a divorce. Today, I want to talk about something that I've seen time and time again. It's that one mistake, the one decision, the one mindset shift that almost every divorced man regrets. And most of the time, by the time they see it, it's too late. But the beauty of being human is that even if you're late, you're never fully out of the game unless you decide to be. Now, divorce. That word alone carries weight, doesn't it? I mean, if you've been through it or you're going through it, you already know the kind of emotional earthquake it sets off. The late-night fights that turned into silent dinners. The lawyer meetings that feel more like business transactions than the ending of a love story. The loneliness that comes not from being alone, but from realizing someone you once trusted just isn't there anymore. I've heard it all. Friends, coaching clients, strangers in coffee shops who somehow end up telling me their life story. And over, I see the same pattern. Most men think the hardest part about divorce is signing the papers, packing your things, splitting assets, figuring out the custody schedules if there are kids involved. And don't get me wrong, all of that stuff stings. But that's not the part that really sticks. The thing that keeps guys up at night, months and even years after the ink's dry, it's not about the house, the car, or even the money. It's about the fact that they let themselves go emotionally. They stopped growing. Somewhere along the line, they stopped being the man they promised themselves they'd become. The mistake divorced men always regret is this: they lose themselves trying to hold on to something that was already gone. Let me explain what I mean. You see, when a relationship starts falling apart, most people, especially men, shift into fix-it mode. We treat love like it's a flat tire. We think, if I just work harder, if I just buy her more gifts, if I just apologize the right way, if I just give her more space, or maybe less space, she'll stay. But the truth is, love isn't something you patch up with duct tape and good intentions. When it breaks because something deeper was ignored for too long. And when a man spends all his energy trying to hold on to her, he stops holding on to himself, his goals, his self-worth, his personal growth. By the time the marriage ends, it's not just the wife who leaves. The man has already left himself. And that's the regret. Not the divorce itself, but the version of himself he lost during the slow breakup. That's the part that stings years later. When the house is sold, when the kids grow up, when the wedding ring's been in the drawer, so long you forget it's even there. A lot of guys tell me the same story. They say, I was so focused on trying to make it work, I forgot who I was. And the reality is, for some, the marriage was never about the other person. It was about trying to fix something broken in themselves through another human being. That's why when it ends, the emptiness is so loud, because the truth finally shows up. The person you needed to fix wasn't her. It was you. And I don't say that to blame or shame anyone. God knows relationships are complicated. People change. Life gets hard, bills pile up, kids come along, dreams get put on hold. But underneath all the daily chaos, there's one question every man needs to ask himself, especially during a divorce. Who am I becoming through this? Because life isn't about what happens to you. It's about who you become because of it. A divorce can break you, or it can build you. And the choice isn't hers, it's yours. And the most painful part is, most men don't even realize they've abandoned themselves until it's too late. After the divorce, when the house is quiet, when the phone doesn't ring like it used to, when the social invites stop, when the bed feels too big, when the photos get deleted, when the old dreams don't fit the new reality. That's when it hits. That's when they realize the real tragedy wasn't the end of the marriage, but the way they stopped showing up for themselves long before it ended. The way they compromised their values. The way they let fear run the show. The way they made their world smaller just to avoid conflict. The way they stopped pursuing their passions. The way they let go of their health, their hobbies, their ambitions, all in the name of keeping the peace, of holding on to something that deep down was already slipping away. And once you see that, it's impossible to unsee. That's why the regret runs so deep, Because it's not about the other person, it's about you, about the version of yourself you left behind in the name of love. And the hardest part? You did it thinking it would save the relationship, but what it really did was make you a stranger to yourself. So the question isn't, why did she leave? The question is, when did I leave myself? And the moment you can answer that honestly, that's the moment you start healing. Now look, I get it. When you're in the thick of it, it feels like survival. You do what you have to do just to get through the day. You show up for work, you pretend you're fine, you go to bed hoping tomorrow will feel different. But here's the thing. Time doesn't heal what you refuse to face. Time just teaches you how to live with the scar. Real healing comes when you take responsibility for your part, not in the ending of the marriage, but in the abandonment of yourself. And I don't mean responsibility like blame. I mean ownership, because when you own your story, you can write a new ending. And I've seen it happen. I've seen men rise from the ashes of heartbreak and become stronger, wiser, more authentic versions of themselves. But it starts with stopping the cycle of regret. It starts with waking up to the fact that your future self is begging you to stop abandoning him. Right now, in this moment. You know, we live in a world that tells men to be strong, but never explains what strength actually is. Real strength isn't pretending you're fine. It isn't stuffing your feelings down. It isn't acting like the divorce didn't hurt. Real strength is the courage to feel the pain, to sit with the discomfort, and to rebuild your life brick by brick with self-respect as the foundation. And here's something else you don't hear enough. You are not broken. Divorce might leave you bent, it might leave you bruised, but it doesn't break you unless you let it. You are still capable of love, of success, of deep connection, and of creating a life that feels good to wake up to. But only if you stop running from the part of yourself that you've been ignoring. So if you're sitting here listening to this and you feel that sting of regret, the kind that shows up at 2 a.m., or when you scroll past old photos, or when you see your kids packing up for the weekend to go to her place, I want you to know that feeling isn't a curse. It's a sign that the version of you left behind is still waiting. And it's never too late to go back for him. Because here's the truth. The relationship you have with yourself will outlive every marriage, every breakup, every job, every friendship. That's the one relationship you can't divorce. So why not make it a good one? I know this wasn't easy to hear, but I also know you're stronger than you think. And if you start today, not tomorrow, not next week, you can rebuild a life you don't want to escape from. One where the mistakes of the past don't define you, but refine you. One where the pain wasn't wasted, it was transformed. One where the only thing you regret is not starting sooner. Thanks for hanging out with me today. I'll see you in the next one.